The voice mega mentor for season 28. During the competition's knockout round rehearsals, Joe Walsh was delightfully honest and gave artist Kirby a lovely compliment by making a lighthearted fun at her coach, Niall Horan. Walsh said, "You smell better than him," as he embraced the young vocalist as she came into the room. Kirby answered flusteredly, "Really? You both have a wonderful scent." Horan took the taunt seriously, yelling at his friend, "Hey, Joe, I was told that I had a beautiful scent." In actuality, this assertion is supported by evidence. Horan himself stitched a TikTok video in 2022, which included, among other things, Louis Capaldi, his close friend and battle advisor, complimenting him, "You smell fantastic. I've never smelled a better man than you in my entire life." Then, a fan quotes several tabloids that discuss Horan's alleged perfume and pleasant scent. Lastly, Horan discloses that he has shifted to Le Labo's Santal 33 scent from Hugo Boss. If you want to smell like Horan, you can watch the video here. Horan's clapback days date back to his time as a teenage competitor on The X Factor for the first time. "I think you're unprepared," said Simon Cowell, the future America's Got Talent judge, after the Irishman's 2010 audition, where he showcased both his talent and his sass. "I believe you brought the incorrect song. I still like you even though you're not as good as you believed yourself to be. You'd be all right at work, but you arrived unprepared, Niall. And you believed that you would be able to walk this, but it's more difficult than you anticipate." Cowell persisted, "Niall, you're talking to me." But Horan refused to back down and joked, "All right, Simon, I love you too." Horan advanced to the following stage, and eventually joined One Direction, where his singing career took off, either his talent or his charm. Horan maintained his sense of humor, humility, and yes, his wonderful smell throughout it all. On The Voice, certain moments, iconic notes, dramatic saves, shocking eliminations, and even a great musician cracking a joke so sharp and unexpected that the entire studio audience needs a minute to recover, go viral right away. The Eagles guitarist and Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Joe Walsh, whose easygoing humor is as well known as his guitar riffs, was the owner of that moment this week. And Niall Horan was the object of his now famous humorous remark. Yes, a rock legend on national television lightheartedly and affectionately roasted the smiling, incredibly endearing former member of One Direction, whom admirers on social media affectionately refer to as Sunshine in human form. Hours later, people are still watching the discussion because it was so funny, so unexpected, and so Joe Walsh. The funny thing was that Niall didn't anticipate it, and when he became aware that he had been roasted. TV Gold. The Voice. A night of classic rock chaos. It all began with the show's special Rock Legends Night, which honored classic rock tunes and featured sporadic cameos from actual rock stars. There was a lot of excitement because producers had been hinting at a surprise mentor all week. Online, names were circulating. Slash, Nix, Stevie, Beanator, Pat, is John Bon Jovi making a brief appearance? However, the audience roared when Joe Walsh, sporting a silver bomber jacket, tinted glasses, and his trademark sly smile, walked onto the stage. Like a child at Christmas, Niall Horan applauded. "Joe Walsh, are you teasing me?" Niall cried out in utter shock. "Listening to this man taught me how to play the guitar." Without pausing, Joe answered, "Yeah, well, it seems that you eventually stopped listening." The crowd roared. As the other coaches, Reba McEntire, Snoop Dogg, and Kelly Clarkson, howled behind their seats, Niall clutched his chest and slumped back in fake indignation. And it was only the warm-up. The studio was heard digging later in the episode, during rehearsals with one of Niall's rock-leaning competitors, a 22-year-old Chicago guitarist who admired both Joe Walsh and the Eagles. The true savage moment occurred. Joe listened carefully and nodded in agreement as the competitor started to play a spirited rendition of Life in the Fast Lane. Niall, who was obviously pleased with the song selection, stood next to him and bounced to the beat. Joe then turned to face the competitor and said something that would instantly go viral on social media. "That was fantastic. You have the attitude and the tone. And perhaps quit listening to the pop guy over here if you truly want to commit." Niall froze. Kelly Clarkson literally slipped out of her chair and onto the floor. The competitor was unsure of whether to laugh or bolt. Joe wasn't finished. With the driest possible delivery, he added, "Nothing personal, kid. Pop music is something I adore. I take some of my finest naps on it." The laughter exploded in the room. The group, the crew, even the always composed Carson Daly became very upset. Niall stumbled backward dramatically, as if he had been hit by a cartoon hammer. "Oh, a knife to the heart," he exclaimed. Joe smiled, enjoying the mayhem he had brought about. "Don't worry, son," he said, twisting the knife with affection. "You're still attractive." That resolved the issue. While drinking his water bottle, Snoop Dogg almost choked. Niall's reaction went viral on its own, even though it was obvious that the remark was a joke. Niall didn't allow the opportunity to respond slip. During Joe's walkthrough with another competitor later in the performance, Niall yelled from the opposite side of the stage, "Hey Joe, I'll be over here acting like a pop guy if you need me." He examined his fictitious lip gloss and flipped his hair in a mime. Joe cheered. The crowd applauded. To be honest, it reminded me of two comedians slinging barbs at one another. Why Joe's joke worked so well. Joe Walsh has always been renowned for his comedy, which is self-deprecating, erratic, and frequently delivered with such brevity that it takes a second to realize you're being roasted. What about Niall? He is the ideal target since he is consistently amiable, rather than because he merits a roast. One of the rare coaches who can be made fun of on the air and react with even more hilarious intensity is him. For that, viewers adore him. Therefore, Niall embraced the moment when a rock veteran poked fun at him in front of a live studio audience, which enhanced the comedy. He provided Joe with a dramatic, extravagant response that heightened the humor, exactly what a comedian desires. Fans took note. Social media sprang into life within minutes. The moment's clips were shared on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Several hashtags became popular in less than an hour. Hashtag PopGuy, hashtag Niall Horan roasted, hashtag The Voice Legend, hashtag Joe Walsh vs. Niall. Reactions from night fans were invaluable. Joe Walsh roasting Niall Horan on live TV wasn't on my bingo card, but it's the best thing that's happened all season, a viewer commented. "I'd watch a whole show of Joe and Niall politely insulting each other," another person said. The video was edited with dramatic opera music. Another zoomed in on Niall's astonished expression in slow motion. The moment received 3 million views on various platforms in a span of 12 hours. Even the official accounts of The Voice joined in the fun, sharing a picture of Joe and Niall side by side with the message, "When the rock legend calls you the pop guy." "I'm filing an HR complaint," Niall said. "Good luck with that," said Joe Walsh. Backstage, the jokes persisted after taping. Crew members said the fun continued backstage. According to reports, Niall declared, "I'm turning in my rock credentials," as he entered the production office with an empty guitar case. They were formally revoked by Joe Walsh. He was overheard, and Joe shouted out, "You never had any, son." After the conversation, the two gave each other a hug while laughing so much that tears welled up in their eyes. Later, Reba McEntire said to reporters, "It's been a long time since I've seen Niall laugh like that. He looked like a strawberry after Joe made him flush so much." To be honest, Niall ought to reimburse Joe for the publicity. Kelly Clarkson added, "That was hilarious. The contestant at the joke center? They also adored it." One of the best performances of the evening was delivered by the Chicago guitarist who ignited the moment. "I can't believe I got roasted by Joe Walsh and Niall Horan in the same episode," they said to reporters after the broadcast. "This seems to indicate that I've succeeded." Later, they shared this on Instagram. "Thank you for the advice, Joe Walsh, and for not firing me after he roasted you, Niall Horan." "I forgive you," Niall said in response. "I do, but Joe doesn't." Why Voice history will remember this moment. Although The Voice is full of heartfelt performances and spectacular saves, the show is at its best when the coaches' camaraderie explodes into hilarious mayhem. The unexpected moments that make everyone laugh together, in addition to the skill, are what give the series a sense of life. Joe Walsh wasn't being cruel when he made the joke. It was based on the ageless banter between generations of artists and was loving and lighthearted. A contemporary pop artist being teased by a rock legend? No screenwriter could ever create that type of TV magic. It gave the performance a human, energetic, and impromptu vibe. Fans adore Niall even more because he handled it like a pro. Being ridiculed by a legend might infuriate some celebs. Not Niall. He leaned over the confusion. He made fun of himself. He responded with jokes. The occasion was so successful because of this. Niall Horan is not overly serious about himself. Joe Walsh is also a non-serious person. Altogether, they produced one of the most hilarious exchanges in The Voice's history, which viewers will talk about for years to come. What comes next? Admirers desire a duet with Niall and Joe. Indeed, it is. Following the episode's broadcast, social media was inundated with requests for Niall and Joe performing a duet. Joe's role as a guest mentor for the upcoming season, The Pop Guy and the Legend, is a comedy sitcom. "I don't care what they sing," a fan commented. "All I want is for Joe to make fun of Niall in between verses." A musical collaboration doesn't seem out of the question, considering how much fun they obviously had. Backstage, Joe even made a joke. "I'll teach Niall a chord or two if he can keep up. Only if you promise not to insult me while I'm learning," Niall retorted. Joe? No. Conclusion. An age-old roasting sometimes. In a season full with powerful voices, heartwarming backstories, and competitive tension, the unscripted moments are the ones that really stand out. Joe Walsh's hysterically crude, yet completely harmless, jab at Niall Horan became an immediate classic due to its genuineness, surprise, and extreme entertainment value. Pop and rock collided. A current celebrity meets a legend. Charm meets chaos.